And so to the Saturday night action in the BoyleSports Irish Greyhound Derby. The second round drawing to a thrilling conclusion. And, well, there's only one place to start. Pestana became the fastest greyhound ever to cover 550 yards in Ireland. The first dog ever to break 29 seconds, 28.99, Kevin. This was perhaps one of the most near to perfect performances I've ever seen from a race greyhound. Flashed out, stayed tight to the fence, quickened into the corner, flew down the back, stayed to the line. It was just magnificence from start to finish.
Yeah, look, it was Frankel-esque. It really, really was. It was the race we all wanted to see. Pestana up against New and Taylor. How would it unfold? Could Pestana, like, it's mad. 2 or 3 weeks ago, we're sitting here saying Pestana in the Champion Stakes. Does he stay at 550? And now we're talking about him being the fastest greyhound ever around Shelbourne Park over the trip. Look, he's an exceptional racing greyhound. I joked with Owen after the race. I said, what time would he do if he trapped? Like, he exploded from the boxes. I don't think I've seen a greyhound come out of a trap as hard as he did, and his legs were just flying, and the rest seemed to be half stuck in quicksand. But also New and Taylor, you have to give credit where credit is due to the young dog. After being on a streak like that, I'm sure people were second guessing him, but even as hard as Pestana came out, New and Taylor was gaining on him into the corner.
He probably took the guts of a length, maybe a length and a half off him into the bend, which was mind-boggling.
Yeah, very much so. Like, anyone that was questioning New and Taylor, he is the real deal. He really, really is. He just came up against a really good dog on the night, and he unfortunately for connections, Pestana was just too good. But like, back to Pestana, he is the complete greyhound. He is draw dependent. We know that. I'm sure Owen will admit that as well. But when you put him in one and he starts like that, at the moment, there isn't a greyhound alive that can beat him. He's just flying in every aspect of the game.
New and Taylor, as you say, finished second. He's only beaten 3.5 lengths for a dog that has to lead, as they say. He's only been led twice in his career now at this point. It was a pretty special display from him. He does 29.23 in the second ever 550. Listen, you can say all you like about the track flying, but you need to have a fast greyhound to do fast times, and he's done it. He could certainly be a big player in this derby, especially if he gets his trapping right. Yeah,
because he didn't trap tonight. He saying that in his races that I've seen of him, I've never really seen him fly out. He seems to be, I don't want to say an average trapper, but that's not his attribute. His attribute is 2 strides after getting his legs underneath him.
Break on terms, accelerate.
That's it. He's just like, he is a sprinter. He has that sprinter's early when he hits the ground, and he can stay the 550 trip. He's not going to, if he's fourth at the second last bend, he's not going to fly around the outside and pick dogs up. That's not his game. But the night that he wings out, if he made a break like a Pestana or one of those, like, God knows the time he could record, but like, he's a very, very fast dog. Ran into one too good tonight, but for all of us watching on, you're watching poetry in motion with them 2 dogs.
Worth mentioning, Waikiki Kino runs an under the radar display once again. Fine effort in the first round, fine effort tonight. He's a dog that really is, he's in the peak of his powers at present. He's running very, very well, and it's like not beyond the bounds of possibility that he could be here in 2 weeks' time, having run another 2 fantastic runs in defeat, or who knows, in victory.
Massively, because everyone was drawn to the 2 in front, but there weren't 10 in front of him. Like, he was sticking with them down the back and on the run home. Definitely an eye catcher from tonight.
We move on to Heat 10, and this was the old foes meeting again, Wolf and Ballymac Anton. Wolf definitely needed the run last week, we knew that. Tonight looked like he needed the run again. Was a bit outpaced into the third bend and gave up the lead. Thought maybe at one point, just for a few strides, I said, this dog's going to fade out of contention here, not qualify. But in fairness to him, the competitor in him got him going again. He stayed up on the home straight to finish second. Qualifies, but Ballymac Anton, his great foe, his great enemy, and I dare say at this stage they're nearly pals. But Ballymac Anton, there's no keeping this fellow down. Bit workmanlike in victory last week. There was nothing workmanlike tonight. It was just dogged determination, and there was a touch of class about this run.
Look, he's steeped in it, really, isn't he? We talk about dogs that you'd love to own. The both of them are November 16s. They're approaching their 4th birthday, and here we are in the biggest stage of them all, and we're still talking about them. They're 2 brilliant servants and a joy to watch. They never run a bad race. They're in every competition that lines up, and they've been brilliant. A credit to both connections. Tonight was Anton's night. Anton is that just a little bit stronger than Wolf. Wolf's that little bit better to halfway, I suppose. But they're 2 brilliant dogs, and as we saw in the Easter Cup when Wolf beat Anton, and tonight it flips, and it just seems to fall on whose night it is, and tonight it was Anton's. He's such a game competitor. Sometimes he completely misses the break like he did last week. You rule him out, he still wins. And tonight he passed Wolf at the third bend and went away and won nicely in 29.43. A really two credits, and Soldier Spy then ran reasonably well as well. He probably would prefer an inside draw, like a 1 or 2, and needs to get his trapping boots right, because we know 550 is as far as he would want to be going.
Seems strange to say about two dogs that are November 16s, but they still have that bit of improvement in them. They're only coming back to themselves at present. He's 11, and this was a pretty good display, a pretty emphatic performance by Ballymacwild. We predicted it last week. We knew that this dog, once he got loose, was going to do a big run. 29.15, 5 spots off the old clock, but it was only his 12th career start. He's a juvenile classic winner. He's a runner-up in the Champion Stakes. He's going the right way, and tonight was pretty emphatic by Ballymacwild. Got to the front early, went on to win. Simple as that. He moves on to the Derby, third round, and I'd be amazed if he's not in the quarter-final draw.
Yeah, look, he's a real good greyhound. I know that Shane in particular has taught a lot of this dog for a long time. He didn't blow my... This will sound ridiculous, but you're used to it coming from me. He didn't blow the socks off me in Tralee, even though he won it, and it was a brilliant competition. It was a messy enough final, but he never blew me away in Tralee. I thought he was a real good dog. I didn't think he was a derby dog. And last week he announced, even though he got to the Champion Stakes final, he showed lovely early in the Champion Stakes final, but got a bumpy passage. But last week he really impressed me, and tonight was just simply perfection as well. He started well. He flew to the corner. It was over at the second bend. The race was essentially over at that point, and stopping the clock at 29.15, you can't lose sight of the fact that he's less than 2.5 lengths off Pestana tonight. Like, that performance for me, from a pup having only his 12th race, he's got a massive future.
Worth pointing out, he probably is one of those dogs that's just going to slowly improve. He's not a flashy performer, as you say. He's just kept getting better. Behind him in the satchel, another lightly raced dog, stayed on strongly. Probably doesn't have the early to really challenge in the Derby, but he's a nice dog. He could go another round or two. Iconic Rory, not the most fluent on his corners, but has plenty of pace. Just worth noting, Skywalker Logan went out here. Pat Guilfoyle has always said Shelbourne Park is not his track, despite the fact he's some sensational runs here. He's won a Gronk Cullen here. Perhaps could be his last start here at Shelbourne Park, because I'm sure Mullingar is on his agenda. It's a shame to see him leave, but what a performer he's been.
Yeah, and look, and very few dogs capture the imagination both sides of the pond and equally are as loved. And Skywalker Logan, albeit he didn't win the English Derby last year, he was the talking dog. We've all seen the videos with the Titanic music where he breaks the clock, and look, Pat Guilfoyle has done brilliantly with the dog. He's run him in the right competitions, he's kept him healthy, he's kept him well. Over the last 10 years, few have been faster than him. I'm glad to see him win his competitions, and if it's the last time he graces Shelbourne Park, well, he goes out on his shield. He's been a brilliant servant for Connections.
Indeed he has. We move on to Heat 12, Ballymac Cooper. We were of the opinion that he was going to use tonight to announce his arrival in this year's Derby, and he certainly did that. He was aided by Dearjet Sydney, diving inwards, finding early traffic. He actually ran a remarkable race to qualify Dearjet Sydney, but Ballymac Cooper, 29.10, equals the old clock. Only for Pestana earlier in the evening would be using all forms of superlatives to describe that display from Ballymac Cooper, but it really was top class professional racing from a dog that we've often said seems to... We're still waiting for the penny to drop. Well, perhaps the penny has well and truly dropped. This fella's been running extremely well since the return from lockdown, and tonight was further evidence of the fact that he is one of the main fancies for Derby glory. Yeah,
look, he was my pick anti-post, and when he gets it right at the boxes, that's the key to Cooper. We know how good he is from the second bend. We know he's as good as any dog in the competition. His Achilles heel, if you want to call it that, can be at times his inconsistency at the traps. When he gets it right, he's brilliant. He really is. He's very good, and whatever finishes in front of him when he starts will win the Derby, in my opinion. I think he's got it all. I'm glad to see the season change. I think he is more suited to the outside because of that inconsistency at the boxes. The night, like in the first round, when he didn't get it right at the boxes, he can find himself in trouble. He doesn't have that sensational early to the corner to get himself out of trouble that inside seeds need when they miss the break. Out on the outside, it gives him that little bit more leverage, and if he goes around the outside, I think it'll take a good one to beat him. In 29.10, a brilliant performance. And just to touch on what you said there, Dearjet Sydney, a remarkable performance. If you just watch the race on its own, you might not be blown away with it, but you got to understand this dog's game is from the front, and it's to be on the rails, it's to be on the bunny, and that's where he does his best work. At the second bend, I ruled him out. I saw the dog running in Tralee, another one to come from that unraced stake in Tralee, Dearjet Sydney, and I ruled him out at that point. The battling qualities this dog showed around the third bend when things got rough, I didn't know he had up until tonight. And after seeing that, it's very few front runners that can show that when things get tough, and he did it tonight in spades. Very, very taking performance from Pat Buckley's charge.
Razzle Dazzle ran her normal, honest race. She actually got up on the line to deny Dearjet Sydney's second spot, but we'll be talking more of Neillis O'Connell in a moment. He's 13, and this was the Neillis O'Connell train, Razzle Dazzle Peaky. Second fastest of the qualifiers in the opening round. He chased home Pestana, beaten a length by Pestana last week. He is a dog that perhaps likes a target, hit the front early tonight, had to work a bit harder than many were expecting, but Mina Miracle really put up to him. But Razzle Dazzle Peaky, when he was still in front off the last bend, we knew he was going to power up the home straight. He duly did that, wins a length and a half. It was his 6th career victory. For his pace and power, he probably should have more wins, but it's another win for Neillis O'Connell, who had winner number 1,000 earlier in the week. A great achievement for Neillis. And Razzle Dazzle Peaky, no matter what the company, he's hard to keep out of the frame. Yeah,
you summed it up. Neillis knows what I think of this dog. I think he's one of the most underrated dogs in the country. Look, he probably doesn't win as many races, like you said, as he could, but I can guarantee you, if you put the fastest 5 greyhounds in the country in with this lad, he'll be in the frame. He'll be 3rd or 4th or in the mix. He never runs a bad race. He's always in the frame. I love him to bits. He's a real good dog, and I'd love to own him because he's never out of frame. No matter who he's in against, what trap he's in, he's always thereabouts. Even if he doesn't necessarily go on to win. And look, Neillis is having a cracking derby so far. Delighted for him to see him get the 1,000 winners during the week. And with this lad, I'm sure he'll go another few rounds. It's just the type of dog he is. Mina Miracle, like you say, ran a big race. And Kelzaghi Sonic for Martin Lanny ran an absolute blinder in this race. Didn't trap particularly well, was pushed off and seemed to lose his footing between the two bends. And I know the two in front in 29.45, he made up 3 or 4 lengths.
He hammered home. He just arrived at the outside of the last bend, and where did he come from? And he flew home into the escape, everything like that. And I know the Burtons would have been watching from England, cheering him on. They're getting a real thrill out of him, and hopefully he'll run well, because when they send one over from the UK, Martin seems to be getting quite a few of them. You want to see them running well, and he's still there. Yeah,
Martin has been tip-top order, and I know Martin really likes this dog, and Martin is convinced we have not seen anywhere near the best of this lad. He's waiting for the night that he gets it right at the boxes, and when he does, well,
who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Exactly.
We move on to Heat 14. Predictably, the Bold Eagle was to set a strong gallop, but he just doesn't get to that winning line. He really has fantastic early speed, but just doesn't get there. And in fairness, when Great Name That stuck to the fence around the opening 2 bends, he got first run of the strong runners. He turned in 3rd behind the Bold Eagle and Price Esquire, but you knew off the second bend that Great Name That was the main threat. He went second before the 3rd bend, and Julie came through in the final 50 yards. Wins a comfortable length. Scooby Princess, who had just failed to get first run, was a fast finishing second. A good run by the winner, a good run by the second, and yet again the Bold Eagle running a fine race to that 3rd bend, just not quite getting home.
Yeah, you'd imagine he'd be a lovely dog in the Laurels or something like that later in the year. He's got blister and early pace. He probably is a 5.25 dog that gets 5.50 if you want to say that, but he's not a strong 5.50 yard runner. But look, if he's in front most nights, 3 of them are going to have to pass him to qualify, and that's easier said than done. Great Name That is, we know he really had the wrong dog behind him tonight, because Great Name That's futures potentially over 6 bends. We know that. I know that might sound a little silly for a dog doing 29.50, but he really powers from halfway. When he's son of
a TV trophy winner, of course.
Exactly, yeah. When he got a pitch early down the back straight, the writing was on the wall. Scooby Princess for Jennifer Donald really catched my eye as well, because I know how strong Great Name That is. And to be making up ground on him and sticking with him and running through the line like that, she was very eye-catching. We saw what she did in Cork, 29.40 odd for the 5.50 down there. She has taken her time to get used to Shelburne again, and if she can get keep her head in the hat again next week, she might just catch out a few.
The more of the early pacers that qualify and keep qualifying, the more chance this lady does of keep qualifying, because she'll get that clear run to the 3rd in behind them, and as they're starting to tire, the ones that aren't leading, she could arrive on the scene, and I certainly wouldn't rule her out being a semi-finalist or anything like it. Moving on to the 15th heat of the opening round, and here BoyleSports Extra, the cameraman, I'm afraid missed most of this, but we saw the start and we saw the finish. And what do you need else to see? Because BoyleSports Extra flashed from traps, got to the front, went 3 lengths clear. In fairness, Tracy's Bob, who'd run a big race as a reserve last week, caught the eye, closed into the 3rd bend. But BoyleSports Extra, we know what he's about. Get to that 3rd bend, kick again off the final turn, stay close to the rails. He did it as you like. perhaps the most professional greyhound in training.
Yeah, well, look, I'm clearly biased when it comes to him. I recommended him, and John went ahead with him. And look, we've had great sport with him. He owes us nothing at all. He never runs a bad race. He really doesn't. Draws are what kills him. We know how badly he wants the inside two boxes, and when he's drawn outside, as we saw last week from 6, he'll dive across. He throws himself at it to get across. But yeah, I was thrilled with him tonight. Look, he's getting better, and what really caught me was in the Tipperary Cup. The night that he got knocked out in the Tipperary Cup, he stayed on through dogs and was passing dogs. He seems to be staying so much better this year. Like, he's a month away from being a 4-year-old dog, a month away from being a veteran, and he's staying better than he has ever done in the past. And he still has that early boot to the corner. So look, he doesn't owe us anything. It's a real good run that we're having with him at the moment. He's draw dependent, but look, I'm sure John was over the moon in America with the way he's carrying on at the moment.
He ran up one last year with BoyleSports King.
Yeah.
It'd be great to see him get to a final again.
Well,
Listen, we won't put the mockers on now or anything like it. Behind him, Tracy's Bob. It's a nice dog. Like, he's very, very well bred. It's taken him a little while to come to hand. It was his 14th start tonight, but he's shown plenty of pace. Just a dog that just worth keeping an eye in the future. And back in third, Mustang Firmino. If they could ever get this fella to leave the traps with a bit more fluency, he has shown massive pace the last 2 nights. He's a dog that could certainly go another round, but he is dependent on getting that start, perhaps.
Yeah, very much so. He's a little bit frustrating at the boxes, as we've seen with a few others, but we know there's a massive run in it. We said it with Epic Hero, and Mustang Firmino is another one of those.
We move on. The final heat of the round, and this saw Lenson Bocco, the defending champion, trying to stop the rot. He had lost his last 2 starts, and he made it 3 losses in a row here, but a better display from him. But there's no question this dog isn't at the same level of performance as he was last year. But the signs were there tonight that he is coming on a bit, and perhaps he is just a little bit behind his work. Perhaps he was held up a little bit, or perhaps Graham's just taking it slowly with him through the competition. Did run better in defeat, but there's no question he was thoroughly outpointed here by Feudal Spirit, who flashed out, got to the front, and was travelling like a winner from start to finish.
Yeah, look, it's not easy to catch dogs doing 29 in front. It's very, very hard, and that's what happened tonight. We had a young pup who has a brilliant strike rate, and when he's on the bunny, which we've seen in his record, is very, very hard to beat. And that's
7 from 10 tonight for
exactly.
Feudal Spirit. Like, it was 10 starts, 7 win. You can't knock that.
Exactly, and he got on the bunny. He got first crack at Bocco tonight. Bocco threw everything he had at it, and I was impressed with Bocco tonight. I was another one that I was for connections. I think they made the right call, change the seating. I think he's more suited to being out there. Just because of that, it helps on the outside. If you have a dog that can run from the outside in this derby, it'll help because we've so many dead railers in it. I think the seating change is correct. I was much more impressed with him tonight. I was actually more impressed with Bocco tonight than I was when he won the Champions Stakes semi-final. I think he's going in the right direction. He doesn't have the spark that he had last year at the moment. But
it's the first 75-80 yards. He's just not getting going as quick as he did last year.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think it's only sharpness is the issue. I think he'll get sharper with racing. Like, all these dogs have had 3-4 months off with the COVID, and they need racing, and when he gets fully up to speed, and the more rounds he can keep his name in the hat, that sharpness will gradually come back. He still has all the ability, as we saw. He was doing what the winner was doing from the second bend home, and once he gets a bit more racing and he finds that trapping boots and that explosiveness to the corner, he won't be too far away. And Ballymac has another one of those that we talk about, all the good dogs, the older dogs, the veterans. Not that she is a veteran at all, but she seems to be around forever. But she's always in the mix when we get down to these derby competitions, and I'm sure the Dowlands will be thrilled to see her into the third round.
It's a good derby.
Very, very good. I haven't seen a night's racing like this ever before.
Yeah, truly was a spectacular night's racing here at Shelbourne Park. But you know what? We get to do it all again next week. For the first time in this year's derby, the remaining 48 dogs will all be in action on the same night. Join us here at Shelbourne Park for more brilliant racing in the BoyleSports Irish Derby.